We're a little late.
Hey fam, we're a little late today.
You guys should be used to that by now.
A lot late today.
Hopefully.
We could tell them why.
Well, tell them why. Why are we late? Somebody got a present in the mail yesterday.
A present that I purchased for myself. I got my bikini for the Angel Competition Bikinis fashion show, which I am 2 weeks out. It's freaking scary. 2 more weeks.
2 more weeks and 4
I
weeks.
gotta
4
put
weeks
that
from the cruise.
bikini on. Yikes. Yeah, 2 weeks out to AC Bikinis fashion show, and then 4 weeks out to the cruise. And I put on my bikini today to try it on to see how it fit, to make sure it fit, make sure everything was good to go. It was a brand new custom suit I had designed for me.
You should get it.
No, I don't do suit reveals before the day.
Okay.
But y'all,
I got to see it.
Is
wow, wow.
I think it might be my favorite suit ever, and that's saying a lot because my last suit was.
Okay, to be 100% honest, I liked your last suit better.
My last suit was badass.
Your last suit was
yeah. We'll see. This one's a contender, but yeah, that last one was badass. So this was a couture suit designed by AC Bikinis, Angel Competition Bikinis, for me. I haven't worked with them since I did my NPC show in 2017, so it's been a long time. Decided to do the fashion show this year, kind of a light competition light, because I'm not going to be competing, so it's like
just
prepping for a show,
stage.
but just something to get me back in the flow of,
in the groove.
in the groove. And I will say, putting that bikini on this morning was a wake-up call for me, and it relates to the topic we're going to be talking about today, which is about cutting. And let me tell you, I'm like, oh snap. I mean, the good news was it fits. It's not
That's
like
always a bonus.
It's not too tight. It's not like,
trying to get it on.
but seeing the pictures, he took pictures, and the reason why we're late is because it's quite intricate. The back is absolutely incredible, insane, amazing.
It's like putting a puzzle.
A puzzle, yeah, yeah.
One of those, like, you know, those
Definitely
puzzles?
can't get in this
you know
thing
those,
myself.
those brain teasers that you see at like the doctor's office? It's like, it's the rings and all these things you got to try to figure out how to, that's what it was like.
Oh my gosh, y'all. It's got a lot going on. So we figured it out, we got it on, but then we realized there's something wrong. There's something not jiving the way it's supposed to.
Choker piece that didn't go on right.
A piece that's supposed to connect to the back, that's supposed to do a thing, and something's off. So he had to do some videos for me and explain it, show the back so we can send it to them, and I can figure out, or they can figure out what needs to be done to make sure that I can wear it correctly. But
Shrink your head.
it also, there's a piece we think needs to go over my head that it will never in a million, it's not going to happen unless we get a shrunken head doctor to Beetlejuice me into
I literally was just going to say that. Oh my gosh. It was like, okay.
Yep, it's a Beetlejuice situation.
Well, if you cut, maybe your head will shrink. How much fat do you have in your head?
It's not getting
Not
that
as much
small.
as I do.
It's not getting small enough to go through that.
You could shave your head.
We're already halfway there, and that
Just
didn't
shave
help.
it all off. That would be
I got it to where it sat like a crown on the top.
Grease it all up and then slide it over.
Ain't gonna happen. Okay. So that's what held us up today. And then I needed to get my coffee, and it was like, okay, this isn't gonna happen at 10:30. But also it was a big wake-up call for me, because although the suit fits, it does not fit in a way that I feel super comfortable and confident showing my body off in it. So it was definitely a oh-ish moment of I got 2 weeks and I got to go hard. And for me, what that really is going to mean is posing and videos
consistently
3 times a week at least 3 times a week over the next 2 weeks.
Because you haven't been doing like any.
I have not been doing that the way I normally do in a prep. Typically now with my last coach, I did it twice a week throughout the entire prep. We had a weekend and then a midweek check-in. And not having a coach right now, I'm my own coach. It was way too easy for me to be like, oh, wait until tomorrow, and then tomorrow never came. Mm-hmm. This is one of the reasons why I really encourage my ladies, I don't care how you feel, do your check-in every weekend. don't let that become a thing you don't do, because then all of a sudden it'll be weeks you haven't done it, and then you're not making the progress you want to make and need to make to get to where you want to be. So that's for me I'm stepping that up.
Yep.
And then stepping up the cut, because it's been very slow. And normally that would not be an issue for me at all. I usually do long preps, a good 16 to 20 weeks.
Very progressive.
And this is, okay, I'm on stage in that bikini in 2 weeks. So we've got to get a little more aggressive with the cut. And then knowing that we have the cruise right after, I want to keep that going. And then after that, I would like to be able to go into a bit of a reverse and a build, or potentially.
No, I think you just keep cutting.
The seed has been planted. There are a couple of shows
that
in July that I would really love to do. And what typically happens for me on a cut is once I get into that sweet spot, and usually it happens like a good 6 weeks out, 4 weeks out to a show, things start really moving. And then the show comes and I'm like, damn, I want to go like another 2 to 4 weeks, because it could be incredible what I could achieve if I keep going. So I think these two events are going to be like that fire for me that just makes me want to keep going. And so why not? There's a couple of shows in July. And then after that is when I can take a little breather, build a little bit, and even better if I can build into my next show. Big show that for me, I'm thinking is going to be November in Mexico. So.
Right. Okay. So we're talking about cutting.
Yes.
We've been talking about that. And before we get into, basically we'll just kind of go through how we're doing different things, where we are, where we're trying to go. She just went over where she's trying to go. Before we get into that level of detail, I want to make sure that everybody understands one thing, and that is you're going to hear us talk about this process differently for each of us, but we're still talking about the same things. So we're still talking about
principles.
Right. We're still talking about making sure you get enough protein. We're still talking about building muscle. We're still talking about managing intake, even if the words that we use are different. Right? I'm going to talk about managing intake differently than she talks about managing intake, because we use different metrics and we have different terminology. But the idea is, in general, we'll just start off with this. In order to cut, you need to reduce the amount of fuel energy that you eat, or increase the amount of fuel that you use while maintaining metabolic function.
Or a little bit of both.
Right? That's basically the two things that we're trying to balance when we talk about cutting.
Energy balance,
right?
Exactly. Yep.
So I'm not just stopping eating and working harder. That's not what we're talking about. This is not a eat less, work more conversation. This is a eat with intention and build with intention.
I love that.
It's a very different conversation.
Yeah.
So thinking about that, that's kind of the basics of
While
what we're talking
on
about
the
this.
surface, it seems that's what it is. On the
Right.
surface,
Eat
it's like,
less,
oh yeah,
eat less, move more, right.
Because to an extent, if you
That's
really
part
dumb
of
it
it.
down, that's what it is.
Right.
But there's so much more nuance involved there. And there are ways you can do that absolutely wrong for your health.
Right. And that's the key, guys. This is for health. And when we have this conversation about cutting, bulking, body composition, maintenance, whatever it is, how do I say this? We are not talking about what you're seeing on social media. We're talking about being able to manage your body composition for aesthetic purposes while maintaining your health.
Yes.
What you see and what you hear by 90% of the people on social media who make their money off of being ripped, okay, are not healthy. Not physically healthy, not mentally healthy. Their lifestyle is crap. They are obsessed with how they look. And there's a whole bunch of aspects that we're trying to help you. I don't want to say straddle the fence, right? Because bridge the gap between the reality. There we go. Bridge the gap between the reality of having an aesthetic focus and letting it control your life.
Yeah, and
because we don't want that. We don't want that to happen.
Have to choose one or the other. That's the thing.
Right.
Now it's interesting because we see, in the fitness space, we see it's all about aesthetics. It's all about aesthetics, right? Then you have in the health coach space or the health space is this concept of you just need to accept where your body is, because for you to be healthy, it's not healthy to be lean.
Yeah.
And that's not true either. You can be lean and be healthy.
Yes. Well, and I'm glad you said that, because there is a balance, and this is something that I'm working through or have worked through. You can be healthy lean. You can be at a level of leanness that is not healthy. You can also be healthy not lean.
Yep.
And being willing to understand and accept either of those conditions, if health is the priority, gives you some freedom and flexibility to adjust and make changes without a lot of stress.
Yeah, that's the piece right there.
Right? Because,
yes.
so I'm at a point, if you guys have heard me talk before, I'm at a point now in my journey where I don't have to I could never track again for the rest of my life. And if my body fat goes up a little bit or down a little bit, who cares? I'm having fun. I'm living my life. I can physically do whatever I need to do. I have no health issues that I'm worried about.
And the same for your training.
Just kind of, and the same for my training. It's just kind of chill.
Maintain.
And I'm trying to maintain a level of that freedom and flexibility while also kicking up my intention a little bit on the body composition side. So I'm balancing that instead of what I used to do, where it was much more effort to try to stay at 10% body fat, because that was my goal for a long period of time. I want to be at 10% body fat. I'm tracking everything. I'm eating lean. It's the same thing every day, and regimented and routine and all this type of things. And then about a year ago, I guess, I was like,
yeah, I would say probably.
Why am I doing this? I don't have to do this. So I kind of backed off a little bit. Now, do I track? Not the same way that I used to. And this is one of the changes. We'll talk about some of the changes. I went from tracking every single thing that I ate every single day to not tracking at all, to where my maintenance was, I have an idea of what I want to eat every day. I just pretty much do that. I have some eggs, I have some butter. I eat the meat. I may drain it. I may not. Kind of depends on how I feel. I may have 2 meals a day. If I'm hungry, I'll have 3. I'll have some potatoes or hash browns or some French fries every once in a while at Five Guys, which doesn't happen a lot, but I would do that. When I decided, hey, let's reel things in a little bit, tighten up the parameters of what I'm trying to do to get ready for the cruise, because I didn't want to be I don't want to be too chubby on the cruise, I've gotten to about 18. I haven't gotten on an InBody scale, I think in the last 6 months, twice, maybe, right? I used to get on it every day, at least once a week, if not more than that. I got on the InBody scale a couple months ago, and it was like 18%. I was like, okay, I don't want to be 18% on the cruise. I like to get below maybe 15% for the cruise. All right, I got a few percent of body fat to lose. I want to be chubby like Bronson. So
Bronson
I was like,
chubby is a whole different kind
right?
of chubby. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so what am I going to do? So here's what I did to increase my intention. And this may not be what you think. I'm cutting. This is my cutting, and it's not going to be the same as her cutting, and it's not going to be the same as what your cutting may look like. My cutting means I'm going to increase my tracking of food. Here's my tracking. I'm going to cut out as much butter every day that I normally use. So I used to cook my eggs with 2 tablespoons of butter cooking, and then I would put 2 tablespoons of butter on the plate and put the eggs on top and let it all melt and mix it in. So now I'm cooking my eggs with no butter, except on the weekend. So during the week, I don't use any butter. During the weekend, I still cook my eggs in butter, but I'm only doing two tablespoons, not 4.
Okay.
To cook them in.
Damn, 4 tablespoons. Now that you say it like that, I'm like,
It's so good.
woo.
It was so good. Because the scrambled eggs, then you melt the butter on it and you put the salt on it. Oh, so good. So that's the first change. I'm tracking. What did I change in my intake? I just stopped adding butter to everything, for the most part.
You switched
I switched my meat to a little higher leanness. And when I do it in the crock pot now, I'm draining it before I eat it. I wasn't doing that before. I would eat it with the broth and the fat and everything. So now I'm draining that. So
you're mixing if you did, like last week, he had me get him 80%
and turkey.
Ground beef and then some lean ground turkey.
And then mix that all up in the
He mixed those two. And then this week we're back to the 88% because I went to Costco.
Right.
So you don't have to do as much with that. You don't have to mix that with turkey or anything.
Right, but I just drain it and then just eat that without all the extra fat. And then the third thing that I'm doing is I've increased my consistency at the gym and doing sprint intervals or some kind of cardio every day, except on a rest day. That's when I don't. So I have 2 rest days a week. Well, 1 rest day a week. Since I'm doing 3 days on, 1 day off now. So the amount of fuel energy that I'm expending every day has gone up. The intensity that I'm working with every day has gone up. So that's going to increase, right? I'm doing a lot more, I'm being a lot more consistent. That's been the biggest thing. So the other part of me in maintenance mode outside of what I'm eating has been my fitness activities have been, I don't feel like it today, so I'm not
few
going to go.
and far between.
Right?
Yeah.
It's been like 2, maybe 3 days a week I was going.
Yeah.
Part of it was just a lot of stuff going on. Part of it was I just didn't feel the need to go because, again, I don't have any specific fitness goals that I'm focused
Your
on right
desire
now.
at the time to go was
Yeah,
not.
my focus has much more been on the book and other things, projects and things that I'm working on. So the fitness goals have not really existed. So I decided, okay, my fitness intention isn't going to be follow this program. It isn't going to be try to work towards a specific weight or whatever. It's going to be just show up. So that's how I've changed there. So just showing up on the days that I say I'm going to go has been a great, I mean, it's double the amount of time I was going every week,
the
right?
consistency, yeah.
So it's increasing that amount of work, increasing the muscle activation, all those things. So that's been my biggest change. And how I'm cutting is more about just increasing the things I know that will move the needle in the right direction without trying to overstress, make it complicated, or add a bunch of anxiety to the process.
Yeah, basically without tracking,
Right.
you have been increasing your protein and decreasing your fat.
Right. Increasing protein, and I have been eating more. Actually, that's another thing we talk about. I've been trying to increase my protein intake. So increasing my protein in general without specifically tracking, decreasing my fat intake in general without specifically tracking, and then increasing my overall muscle activation and just general energy expenditure.
You also
That's
cut
how I'm
out
doing it.
cheese, except for on the weekends when you do your. Basically, he's having more fat on the weekends
Right.
and less during the week, and cheese was another part of that.
Right.
So, a lot of
That's what I'm doing.
and it's a lot of the things that we recommend for people if we're looking at a client's, what they're eating. Same kind of recommendations we would make for them. Cut down on the dairy, cut down on the added fats. Increase protein. These are the same kind of principles that go into if you're executing a cut, the proper way to do that.
And it doesn't have to be super complicated.
No, right?
Yeah. Now, it does help to get really in the nitty gritty because there is an aspect, and you can talk about this because this is something that your clients deal with a lot, is knowing what you're actually doing beforehand.
Yes.
Like, here's what you're actually doing. And that's where the
And being
detailed
able
tracking.
to quantify it so that you
Right.
can make decisions moving forward.
Right.
Because the thing is, if it wasn't working, then what?
Right.
What do you change when you don't have data? Right? Because you're doing it without data. You're not weighing.
Well,
you're still
just
not weighing.
as
You're not getting a
yeah.
full
It's
body
not
weight.
nearly as specific data. I know what I was doing before. I'm making broader changes, not specific changes. Some people
Not
need
looking
to
at the
track the
numbers.
detailed stuff to see specifically what they're doing.
And how are you assessing?
Right.
Because you're not assessing. You're not like
Right now, I'm not
checking
assessing.
in. You're
Right now,
not-
my assessment is how I look in the mirror.
Right.
That's my
So
assessment.
everything for him is more broad right now.
Yeah.
And this is a lot of what we hear in the space is like, don't get on the scale, don't track macros, all of that, right? Can you do it? Yes. But I'll tell you what, I guarantee, because I'm looking at all the numbers and I'm looking at, I'm being dialed in. This is how I know to do this, how I've always done it as a competitor. The difference being when you do it his way, you're probably going to make bigger changes quicker. Like you've cut out significant amounts of fat.
Yes.
All at one time.
All at one time.
And maybe significantly increase your protein at the same time, right? Whereas the way I do it, I could say I'm just going to cut my fat macro by 15 grams. That's 1 tablespoon.
Right.
It's the equivalent of 1 tablespoon.
And then see what happens.
Yeah.
And that's okay. So now what we're talking about is the trade-off.
Yes.
There's the trade-off between complexity, stress, and anxiety and actual results and performance and how well things are working. If I had a specific goal.
And how aggressive you're being
Exactly.
at the same time.
If I had a specific goal of, hey, I want to go from 18 to 14% in the next 6 weeks, then I would be like getting on the scale a couple times a week, looking at everything that I'm eating. But I basically just kind of said, I'd like to get leaner over the next 6 weeks without setting a specific number, without wanting, like, it's just, I know that if I do these things in the next 6 weeks, I'll be leaner.
Yeah.
What that actually is, I don't know.
Right.
I'm not worried about it. Now, for you, what we were just talking about, you've been doing one level of effort for the past few weeks. You have 2 weeks, you're going to totally flip that up.
Yeah.
In the next 2 weeks, right? Because you've got something you're like, hey, I have to be more aggressive, have to be more intentional, have to be more specific and more detailed.
Yep.
So that's another example. So
and
your trade-off is going to be a little
do
bit
that 4 weeks ago.
Right.
But for me, it wasn't worth it. And it's all about trade-offs. It's all about trade-offs. I've got ladies right now who are like, okay, I've been doing this cut, but I wanted to build. But then what do I think about, what is the timeline? And I'm like, okay, they're really stressing over like when I'm on a cut versus when I'm going to be on a build, and then when I go on a cut again. And I was like, well, for both of them, recommending, well, why do you need to decide to stop cutting and go into a build and then go back into a cut? Why not just say, I'm going to be on a cut this year, and I'll take a diet break here and there.
Right.
If I'm over it with eating low fat, and I want to bump my fats up and take a week where I just go back to eating more fat. I hate saying go back to maintenance because we don't ever really know exactly what our maintenance is. But you could do an extended, longer, more sustainable cut where you're not making a big change. You're doing small incremental changes, and then if and when you're like not into it, your mind isn't there, you're tired, you're hungry, you can pull back.
Yeah.
And you can take a break from cutting and you can go back to it after. And in 2022, when I set out at the beginning of that year to compete much later in the year, that's what I did. Yeah. I was on a cut for 10 months, but I took a break when we went on the cruise. I took a break when we would have vacations or go speak at events and we were traveling, and I would be like, you know what, I'm going to let myself dine out and not worry about it. I'm going to get burgers. I'm going to get, these. And then it was like, I know I can go back to the cut when I get home. And I know it's a longer process. So for me, that actually took the stress out of it.
Right.
Whereas sometimes when you want to go into a mini cut and you're like, 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 2 weeks, I gotta get this and I gotta go hard. That can be more stressful for some people, just thinking about restricting themselves and cutting back so much and being so aggressive. That can be more of a stressor. So the whole stress thing is identify for you what feels like stress. Tracking my food every day is not a stress for me. I can do it with my eyes closed, except I have to look at the numbers, so I can't do it with my eyes closed. But it's nothing. It's second nature. I pull out the scale. To not do it would be more effort than to do it. Getting on the scale every morning is just what I do. Yeah. It doesn't take any extra time and effort out of my day. Boop, I do it. It's a part of my schedule. It's not stressful for me. For him, that feels more like a stressor than just saying,
no, I just don't. I'm just at a point where I don't care it. Right now, it doesn't mean anything to me.
Well, you talked about the stress and anxiety. What do you mean by that?
Well, so that is the level, the intention and effort that's put into it. And this is what I was just going to say is, if we look at things, because I like to make levels of stuff, right? If we look at if everyone thinking about this, if we think about this as the most important thing in this discussion is at the top level is your health. Mm-hmm. So if we keep that in the back of our mind, everything that we're doing falls under the umbrella of healthy living, quality of life. For us, we're not talking about other people, we're talking about for us. Then from there, the trade-off is the effort you have to put into the aesthetics or the effort you have to put into function and metabolic health, right, and quality of life, right?
The effort you have to put in, period. Like that.
Well, that's
how much effort.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. So from the overall health perspective, You have to put in effort. Now, what we're talking about as a trade-off is there's times where you can shift that effort back and forth. Do I just want to worry about, not health, quality of life? Do I just want to worry about my quality of life, low stress living, focusing on other things? Or do I want to shift that effort into really focusing and honing in on specific things I need to do to look a certain way, have a certain body composition? And there's a balance between the two. And you can shift, guys. It's totally up to you to decide where you want to be with that. It doesn't have to be one or the other all the time.
It's also
it can
not
be
very clear. There's no clear lines between them.
Exactly.
A lot of it overlaps, right?
Yes.
If you're sedentary, getting up and moving your ass, doing something
is going to make a difference.
Is not going to feel comfortable and quality. It doesn't feel like you're enhancing your quality of life when you're getting up and moving your ass and you haven't been doing that. It feels like effort. It feels like stress. It feels like, anxiety. When am I going to do it? How am I going to do it? Where am I going to go? Do I have, what do I wear to do it? All the things, right? That's effort.
That's a woman thing.
And effort.
What am I going to wear? I've never heard a guy ask that question.
I don't know. What about a guy who maybe doesn't even own any sneakers?
It's true. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but
saying,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, do you even have athletic clothing if all you have is suits and pajamas or something? I'm just thinking about people who could be at any level of their journey, to where moving your body in any way is not something they've been accustomed to. That's gonna feel like stress. Any new habit is gonna feel like stress. If all you've ever done is order food and go to restaurants and get fast food, and now you have to put in effort to cook your meals, that's going to enhance your health and your quality of life and your aesthetics.
Right. Well, oh my God, now we're talking about a whole other thing.
It doesn't feel comfortable. It does, you know what I'm saying? So there's so much overlap.
Yes. Can we? I'm going to trail off what you just said
Sure.
a second.
Go for it.
Depending on where you are in your journey, there is, I would say, what's the right way to say this? A natural progression that makes the most sense to help you reach your goals in general. And that is, if you're first getting started, if you're early in the process, or if you have a lot of healing to do, it is probably going to be more beneficial for you in the long run to not worry about aesthetics as much.
Because it'll just come along.
Because that will come along.
Yeah.
What she's talking about is, if you start working out more often, building muscle and being active on a regular basis, that's going to help your quality of life, and it's going to help your body composition aesthetics at the same time. You don't have to focus on one or the other at that point.
Yep.
That's where we talk about you're focusing at the top level of improving your health. So if you focus on I'm going to improve my health,
you will also be
getting both of the other ones of quality of life and aesthetics at the same time.
It's only you get to a certain point once you're healthy.
Once you're healthy and you want to start focusing on the two,
once you're healthy, if you want to focus on aesthetics, for most people, it is going to take more than what it takes to get healthy.
I'm glad we covered that because if you need to get healthy first before you even worry about this conversation.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, it's also like, okay, this is a perfect example from a woman in my academy right now. Had gotten back up to about 32% body fat after having, leaned out, did a building season, but also put on body fat and got to a place where she felt uncomfortable in her body. So wanted to do a cut, right? Got back down to 29%. And her original goal was to get down to 22% body fat. And her question this week to me was, would it make more sense for me to look at like 25% instead of 22? I was like, absolutely.
Sure.
Because the question is, once you get there, do you need to keep going? Right? You may feel fantastic there. And then at that point, the question is, would striving for a lower body fat percentage serve you right now? And the question can be, either. I'm discovering actually through this current cut, that I still don't feel comfortable in my body at 23% body fat.
I do.
He's been loving it. Like the last few weeks, he's been like, on a
I mean,
whole different
I don't mind if
level
you get lower, but you know.
But I'm noticing, I thought I had gotten to maybe 25, 26% at my highest. And I was feeling fine there, honestly, in my off season. Not thinking about putting on bikinis, not thinking about getting on stage, not even thinking about like summer clothing and stuff like that, right? That's fine. That was feeling fine for performance and quality of life and all of that, right? I could have stayed there.
Yeah.
Right. Then it was like, okay, you know what? Thinking about aesthetics, and I didn't have a goal in mind. This is the other thing. You don't have to have a body fat percentage goal. And that was another thing that I shared with her and the other lady, both who had questions about cutting and building seasons. It's like, we don't need to chase a body fat percentage at all. It's like what he said. He's looking in the mirror. How are you feeling in the mirror? How are you feeling in your clothes? How do you feel in your body can be a great way of assessing
And I
it.
feel freaking amazing
Plus,
at the
these
gym.
body fat percentages, it just drives me crazy
Yeah.
to see what people are putting out there about
What's healthy, what they should target.
where they sit and all that. You have no idea what testing measure they're using,
If they're
how
even
that
being honest.
varies, if they're even being
That's
honest.
a whole nother, yeah. But, and it's not just that. I think for me too, you see me when I come home from the gym. It's like, I can
He
look in the
looks
mirror,
jacked.
I can look in the mirror and be like, I still got this. I want to work on that, whatever. But every day I come home from the gym, I'm like, I feel like a freaking beast. This is awesome. I feel awesome every time I go to the gym, and it's the performance is good. I'm putting, I'm adding weight. I'm getting stronger. I'm doing all these things. I could give a rat's ass.
You know what I want to make sure we mention with the whole cutting and building or cutting and maintenance or whatever, going into a cut and not. The key here, the important thing here is you don't want to be changing your mind every week.
Yes.
You don't want it to be like, I'm going to cut this week. And then, oh, but French fries. So now I'm not on the cut. Oh, but I want the ribeye. So now I'm not on the cut. And back and forth all the time. Your body is not going to be happy with you. If you're constantly
Consistency.
confusing your body about what you're trying to accomplish, right? But you don't have to commit to, I'm going to go on a X number of weeks cut, and then I'm going to do this number of weeks build. Like, it doesn't have to be like that. It can be, I want to cut, but what I need to do is every week I need to be thinking about that goal. And I need to be not changing with the wind and based on my urges and my hunger and my cravings, deciding to jump ship.
Oh my God, you took the word out of my mouth. I'm so glad. So I was on a call last night. Was I on that call last night? The night before when I was on that group call? I forget. I was on a
couple nights ago, I think.
And somebody mentioned something about they're trying to do XYZ, but their body's craving X. And I was like, your body's not craving something. Okay? You had something triggered that made you want to go get that thing.
Your body doesn't need
challenge.
pizza,
The challenge that we have when we talk about I want to cut, I want to maintain, I want to whatever is something will happen. Because I'm telling you from experience, guys, this is total experience. I'll be like, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to cut for the next few weeks till XYZ or whatever. I just think I feel like I want to lean out. And then something will happen and I'll be like, the other day, what did I say the other day? You want to do brunch? Because I wanted some freaking hash browns. Right? Not for no reason. I just wanted some freaking hash browns. And it was like, that will creep into your mind. That will creep into your head.
100%.
And you'll be like, well, I don't need to cut right now.
Yep. And the longer you've been doing this and the healthier you are.
And the healthier you are, the harder it is because it's harder to justify. You're not in touch with that pain anymore because the pain is gone of whatever it is you're trying to do. And aesthetics are harder to maintain consistency because it's not related to pain or limitations or anything like that. It is literally a self-made up goal that you've got in your head that you decided you want to do.
Yeah.
And it's harder to have an emotional connection to that.
It's very true. Yep.
So understand that, guys, especially if you're at a point where you want to have aesthetic goals, consistency matters. Now.
And connecting that aesthetic goal to the deeper goal.
Yes.
The deeper why, the thing that makes you emotional is going to be key. If you don't do that, if it's just about the aesthetics, it's going to be much easier to go out and get those hash browns when you feel like them. Yeah.
Yep.
And
I'm glad you said no.
Yeah. I was like, no, I'm not doing that right now. Now, I have reasons for that. Today, y'all, I'm basically doing a lion diet plus coffee which I had to not put creamer in my coffee.
She's doing some hormone testing.
No, I'm doing a SIBO test.
Oh, the SIBO test
morning,
tomorrow. Yeah, that's it.
Which I'm going to film tomorrow. When I do the SIBO test, I'm going to film a YouTube video.
Not
showing,
of her doing the test.
No.
She's not.
Well, actually, no, this one's the breath test.
Oh, not the poop scoop
Not
test?
the poop scoop.
She's going to film herself doing a poop scoop
I'm
test.
also going to be doing a poop scoop, a fecal, what do you call it? Stool test.
Yes.
I'm doing a GI 360, which is going to be the most comprehensive stool analysis I have ever done. I've done stool tests before, comprehensive stool tests, but this one goes into everything. It's all of the bacterial, parasite, fungus, like it goes into everything.
Are you going to do a video about the other thing that you think might be happening?
The perimenopause?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to do...
You just said it. I didn't know if you read it.
I was going to say that part of my slow fat loss this time, I think is very much related to the fact that I've shared before on these videos that my hormones have been low. My testosterone in particular has been low over the last couple years.
All over the place.
And I've tried higher carb, I've tried higher fat, I've tried lots of different nutritional approaches, I've tried supplemental approaches, and this past month, all of my hormones bottomed out. That's something I haven't shared yet, but my estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, DHEA, all of it dropped.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've experienced that. And so I'm grappling with the concept that I may actually be entering perimenopause. 41, it still feels too young, but it's a possible thing. I've been talking 2 years with my doctor about this, that it could just be that this is what's happening, and I really didn't want to admit it or acknowledge it.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking about that this morning. So funny. I was like, I have now done a hair mineral analysis and organic oats. I always call it organic oats.
You did an oats test.
Because the abbreviation is oats. It's organic acids test. So I did the hair mineral analysis, the organic acids test, hormone blood panels.
Are you planning on doing a Dutch too?
I already did. I did the
did the
HE map, which is the same thing as the Dutch test, but it's not the branded Dutch test, but it's a dried urine hormone metabolites test. And now I'm doing the comprehensive stool analysis and the SIBO test. So that's like 6 deeper
Lots of
functional tests
yeah.
and more, because I've been doing serum tests for years. So I have never shared all of the details about the testing that I've been doing. So I just thought about it this morning. I was like, this is going to have to be a whole series.
This is going to be a series, yeah.
Of each test I've taken,
each group of
why
tests.
I've taken it, what was the purpose, what were the results, and what I'm doing about it.
Yeah.
So all that to say, today I'm basically doing a lion diet. The preparation for a SIBO breath test is basically fresh only meats, seafood, eggs, and you can do weak coffee, black, and you can do your fats. You can do added fats, but no more than a tablespoon.
Tell them what you did in yours today.
Yeah, no more than a tablespoon per meal, but you can add fats like olive oil, standard cooking oils. So I really didn't want to have my coffee black, so I decided to make an oleato, which if you go to Starbucks,
oleato.
It's the bougie Starbucks drink that you can only get at certain Starbucks. And
The
it is
olive. Yeah.
It's olive oil. But of course, with Starbucks, they add stuff to it. So I did it with just a really rich Greek imported olive oil that I have that really tastes like olive oil, like olives. And it is very decadent and kind of savory. And I also added salt because I can't even put electrolytes. Can't even have my element today in my water. I have to drink water plain. So I will be salting the hell out of my foods today.
Just reminded me of something.
And I decided to put a gram of salt in my coffee. So this is basically olive oil and salt in my coffee. It is incredible, y'all. It is so good that I was like, you know what? For these next 2 weeks, typically for a peak week, I will go full carnivore, eat nothing but steak and eggs, and then
in the hotel, we're cooking up steaks in the hotel room.
And even the last week, I usually cut out the eggs. And I haven't been eating eggs. I just haven't. I've kind of been.
Which I'm fine with because that means more for me.
I've been a little adverse to them lately. I'm not sure why, but so I've just been eating more steak, ground lamb.
You've been doing a lot of, what is that you did last night?
Steak,
The
top sirloin. It is.
She's been making a really good. Every day she comes out with a bowl for dinner of just steak with the seasonings.
I will air fry it.
Yep.
And then cut it up into chunks and put the fats that came out of the meat in the air fryer back on top. And usually I do salt, pepper, garlic, and maybe I'll do rosemary and thyme. For today, I can only do salt and pepper. So I'll probably just do salt and pepper. It was amazing.
Yeah.
That's what I did last night. I just did salt and pepper. It was so good. So, and it's funny, I usually don't like top sirloin. I usually like fattier meats. But this particular top sirloin I got from Costco, if y'all haven't seen the reel that I posted, it's on both of our Instagram yesterday about our Costco haul. This particular top sirloin that I got is super marbled. Oh, I've never seen it like that before. It's usually like a light pink, and this is like
dark red.
Yeah. And you can see the marbling, and so it is so good. So that was the best top sirloin I've ever had. I'll probably be eating that for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
With ground lamb.
So you said something.
Yes.
About your element. I got an eyelash. I want to update everybody, and then we can probably end because we're coming up on 40-ish minutes. So a couple weeks ago, we were talking and did a video about how I'm pooping my pants off all the time. Since you were talking,
we talked about poop now.
Right? So you were talking about poop scooping. I was poop exploding. And
you tried some things.
I tried something. So the first thing I did, we talked about, I cut out Equip, and within 3 days, all the problems went away. That lasted for about a week, and then it started up again. So I cut out Equip. The issues that I've been having of every 2 or 3 days of having just one day of urgently having to go 2 or 3 times a day, like right away, and then just destroying the bathroom every time, came back. So I'm like, okay, I thought the not having Equip was going to fix the problem. What the hell is going on?
Yeah.
So we talked about it. I'm thinking about it. Like, what's the other things that I'm doing that I've been doing, whatever. I haven't had Element in 12 days.
You're still not doing it? Wow.
I have not had an issue in 12 days. I think, we talked about it, I think it's the amount of stevia that I was having every day. So I don't think it's an Element thing.
Right, because you were doing it in both the Equip and the Element. And you used to do more Equip. Now you've cut down.
I've cut down, so I do about 1 scoop of Equip now. So check this out, guys. So I cut out the Equip. The problem went away at first, and then it came back. Now I've cut out the Element. Now remember, I was doing anywhere from 3 to 6 elements a day.
A lot, yeah.
Okay, probably closer to 5 or 6 a day.
Yep.
And so that's a lot. So what I've done now is I'm not even measuring, but I am doing heavy cream in my coffee, and I'm doing about a scoop of Equip protein in my coffee. So I went back to doing Equip every day in my coffee. Have not had a problem since I cut out Element.
Wow.
I'm doing salt now. I'm doing just Redmond real salt in my water, and I'm doing maybe 3 of these a day. So 3 of these a day of water with my coffee. And
you know what I'm thinking?
And it's been so much better.
I'm thinking because today I can't have anything in the water at all. So I think I'm going to continue that this week. Keep the Element out. I do have the raw Element, so I'll probably just do that without the stevia and use limes. I have limes, but I can't do the limes today.
I might try the raw because it has the potassium that I have not been getting as much of with just
magnesium.
the salt. So I may start doing that and seeing how if that changes anything. If that doesn't change anything, then maybe I'll go with 1 element a day and see how that, and then maybe ramp it up and say, okay, where's my threshold? I can have 3 elements a day before I start crapping my pants.
Yeah, because I usually do 2 or 3 a day.
Okay. So just something to keep in mind, guys. It's an experimentation process. It's a trial and error. I thought I had found the problem when I stopped Equip. That wasn't the solution. I can now have Equip, thank God, every day in my coffee, which I was really sad about not being able to have Equip. And that also means we've been doing more treats. Ever since we went to the event in Arizona, we've been not treats. We've been doing like bread
protein,
We made
protein
some
bread, protein waffles.
some muffins.
Muffles.
Some muffins, things like that.
Muffin waffles.
Muffles. Protein muffles.
Pancakes. Yeah, we've been doing all that stuff.
Chuffins.
Chuffins.
I'm making
That's
some
cute.
chuffins.
And then last night, because I made the bread yesterday, the pumpkin protein bread, but it was very
that was
bland.
good. You
So
fried it
I
up.
made French toast with it. It was really just like cinnamon toast.
Yeah, because we didn't do it in eggs like a French toast, but you just put it on the
sprayed,
stove.
I did the olive oil spray in
Yeah.
the pan, and then I put some Redmond real salt and some cinnamon, and it was. He
was
was
a
like,
great
"You hit the
snack.
sweet spot
The bliss point. She hit the bliss point.
where you don't want to stop eating it."
I was like, oh my God, keep giving me these. But so just something, a little update on that to end this off with. We'll see.
Yeah.
But I'm feeling good. I'm feeling much less anxiety about things as far as the poop goes. And it's not because of the protein powder.
You know what we didn't talk about is what I'll be doing, how I'm cutting, and what I'll be doing over the next couple weeks.
Okay, you want to do that real quick?
Yeah, we'll do that real quick. We did touch on the fact that I do it differently. I do track everything. I started out really slow. It was like, okay, let's just cut 15 grams of fat from where I was. And I'd gotten my macros up pretty high for somebody who's very small, barely 5 feet tall, 125 pounds when I started this. I'm only down 3 to 4 pounds. I've been hanging around 121, 122 lately, which is actually not bad now that I'm thinking about it. I think I really started, 6 weeks out to this show. So it's really only been 4 weeks. So it's been about a pound a week, which is quite good for somebody my size. So that does make me feel a little bit better. Maybe I started a little bit earlier than that. I don't remember. So it might have been somewhere between 4 and 6 weeks. So somewhere around a little under 1 pound a week. So I started out with just cutting, and that's all I've been doing, just slowly cutting a little bit more fat from my macros to bring my total calories down. Protein has stayed somewhere between 130 and 150 because that's all over my body weight, so it's plenty of protein. Usually hanging out around 140 to 150 grams a day. And then my carbs I also pulled those back because I was eating probably about 50 grams total carbs when I started.
Well, you were trying that too to see if it affected your testosterone and other stuff. Like
well, for a while there, I'd gotten it almost up to 100 grams.
Yeah.
Then I pulled back to like between 30 and 50. And that's where I was really hanging out because I was enjoying having fruits and things and carrots and some of like the starchier veggies and stuff for a little while there, potatoes occasionally. And then I pulled back to like 15 to 30 grams of carbs. So I was really in that like carnivore, ketovore, and I'm still kind of hanging out there, fluctuating between anywhere from under 10 up to about 30 grams. So that all pulled like my overall fuel calories down. And I just knowing the numbers, knowing where I've been before, where my sweet spot has been, typically it's like 80 grams of fat is where when I hit 80 grams of fat as my fat macro, things just start flying. And so basically I haven't been there.
So low. God, that's so low.
It sounds so low, but I'm little.
But you're little. I know. It's just, that sounds so low.
Yeah, you could do like twice that, right? Yeah.
But
that's why we have to take things in context.
Yeah. I'm at like 140 is when I started.
And the crazy thing is, you look at people in the traditional higher carb world, right? 80 grams of fat is a ton for them.
Yeah.
Like if you go into any competitor
And that's for people that are bigger than me.
Bikini groups, they're not even hitting like 50 grams of fat, which I would never have any of my ladies ever go under 50 grams of fat. No. Like that is the bottom for me. Hey, Mary Grace is on. So I've really haven't even been there yet. I was at about 85 grams at the lowest. I had gotten up to about 150 grams of fat at some point. It was like 130 to 150. I was basically 1-to-1 with my fats and proteins, which is where I hang out in like a maintenance phase or a building phase. So I pulled it back to like 130, 125, 115, 100, got down under 100. I was sitting at around 185. Now I'm getting aggressive. And I'm getting to that point where it's like 2-to-1 protein to fat by grams. So I'm
What's your carbs at right now?
15 to 20,
Oh, okay.
25, 30. So some days I'm at, like yesterday I got the carrots, so I went up to 30. But most days it's like around 15. So it's pretty carnivore.
Yeah.
So my plan over these next 2 weeks is to go to that 2-to-1 protein to fat. So it would be anywhere from 70 to 75 grams of fat, 140 to 150 grams of protein, and keeping carbs basically minimum. I'm going to go full on carnivore since I have to do it for these tests anyway. I'm just going to keep it going. I know that's how I feel my best when I go into peak weeks, and that's essentially where we're going into like a 2-week stretch of like, let's just go peak week. Plus, I'm also, because of the results of some of these tests, I'm also going into some protocols for gut healing, which you might say, oh my God, how are you doing that all at the same time? Well, because the protocol is pretty similar. You take out the stressors, which any fruits, vegetables, fibers, things of that nature are going to stress the gut. So why not add on, basically it's like some herbal supplements that act as antibiotics to get rid of the bad bacteria, which I do have results showing that I do have overgrowth of certain bacteria. So I've done all the research of what I need to do to eradicate it. So I'm like, what the hell? Why not just do it all at the same time? And I bring that up because I'm going to talk about this when I go through my videos on what I'm doing. But I bring that up because things are only as stressful as we mentally make them out to be for ourselves. I could be going into this saying, oh, I'm going on a cut. I have to be stage ready. So I couldn't possibly work on healing my gut at the same time. That's going to be too stressful. Or I could look at it the way I'm looking at it and say, hey, guess what? Carnivore's gut healing. Why not attack these two things at the same time?
Right.
Having a show in 2 weeks doesn't mean I can't also focus on gut health. Doesn't mean I can't also focus on...
And this is what we're talking about. When you're doing things that make sense from the principal's perspective, you can work on your health while you're doing other things underneath that umbrella, right? It's when you are focusing on something so much that has nothing to do with your health, that's where you get everything all messed up.
Great point. Something a lot of competitors do, and I've done before as well. When you're getting close to stage and you're like, I just need to do anything so that I can stick to my cutting calories or whatever. Last time I got on stage, I kept the nut pods in my coffee until the very last day, the day before the show. Because I was like, you know what? This is going to make it more enjoyable for me. This time my mindset is in a place of, I want it to be as healing and good for my body as possible. And that means natural flavors, stevia sweetened things, anything that could be not ideal, inflammatory, great, thank you, that's the word. Anything that could be inflammatory. My mind is not in a place where I feel like I need those things to make it to stage. Yeah. It's 100%, y'all, about what you make it in your mind. And when you're connected to what matters to you, this is why aesthetics can't be the only thing that matters to you. If that's the only thing that matters, you will cut corners. You will do things that are detrimental to your health just to get there. Or you'll just quit on the process because it doesn't matter that much to you. But when it's connected to something deeper, I want to heal. I want to feel my best. I want the deeper why. And it doesn't have to be separate from my aesthetic goals. Those things can be combined.
Part of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome, guys. Well, thanks for listening today. That was a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
We're on here every weekend, not always on time.
Quick shout out to Dr. Chafee, who just
Hey, what's up, Dr. Chafee? And Carolina Fitness. Thanks, we love you too, Carolina.
Oh, Carolina, love you.
Karen said 41 is not too early for perimenopause. I think that is where I was when I started.
Thank you. I appreciate the validation.
Oh, we got a question. Hold on, before we end up.
Yes.
My body fat is down, but not happy with body aesthetics due to loose, flabby areas. How do I change that? Oh boy.
The same
Patience.
thing. The same. Nothing's different.
Don't do anything different.
Here's the thing. We know this lovely lady very well. The things you're doing are the things, right? Strength training.
Yeah.
Recovery. Dealing with and managing your mental stress load.
There's a lot of things, and this is one of the flabby skin areas, guys, is one of those things that can be a difficult conversation if you're not ready to acknowledge that it may not all go away. And this is a fact. I'm not
for my people who have lost a lot of weight.
Exactly. Depending on where you're coming from, guys. I've lost 70 pounds in my journey. There are people that have lost 200 pounds. Okay, I've lost 70 pounds in my journey, and I have areas that no matter how long I go or how much I lose, I will always have flabby extra skin there.
Also, I will say I have stretch marks and I have cellulite that are still there even when I'm stage lean.
Yes.
And depending on how I stand in front of the mirror or stand in a photo, you can see it. So there are some things we do have to acknowledge that you can do all the things, but it may not ever go away.
Yeah, and that's where understanding what is the goal. If your goal is 100% aesthetic, then you're going to obsess over that stuff. And that's a sign, if you're obsessing over those things that really have no impact on how you're living your life, then that's a sign that your why isn't based as much in your lifestyle and your freedom and your quality of life as it could be.
Yeah.
So thinking about, hey, why am I so stressed on this? Build some, sit back and like, okay, I'm not saying that it's not important. It shouldn't be important to you. We all want to look good. We all want to feel good. We all want to be proud of what we see in the mirror. But if that's where the anxiety is coming from, you might want to reevaluate what you're doing and how you're going about.
And this question speaks to something you talk about a lot, which is body fat being down. Okay, that's great, but we need muscle to go up if we want to tighten up. So when we're seeing flabby, loose, the skin is the skin, right? There's only so much you can get that skin to stretch.
Fill it up.
You can fill it up with muscle, and that's going to be the best case scenario, especially once your body fat gets down pretty low, because at that point, where else can you go, right?
Yes.
This is why Bronson talks all the time about not always focusing on fat loss and weight loss, but we've got to focus on getting the muscle up. That is a very long process
and very
especially for my women who are over 40, 50, 60. It is going to be a longer process.
And there's more to it. We could probably we talked about that a few weeks ago when we talked about not being afraid of food, right? Because the whole process
you gotta eat.
Guy, let's do maybe next week, or we can talk about how we do this, but maybe we can talk about how to deal with flabby skin.
Ooh.
What are some things you can do, and understanding what that process is all about, and some things that we can do to optimize that.
We can totally talk about that.
Because eating more and lifting heavy is part of that process.
And that was my last masterclass, so check that out if you haven't seen it.
Or just go listen to that. Yeah.
What did I call it? Embrace the gains.
Embrace the gains. Yep.
Yes. How to get over the mental hurdles of a building process.
There you go.
Check that out.
Yeah, so we don't need to talk about it. She already did. See you guys next week. Thanks for joining us. As always, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Go check out Coach Nat's Instagram and follow her. She's got a YouTube channel that she's going to be starting to build up as well. What's that? Keto Bikini Secrets. So go subscribe to her page as well.
And on Instagram at the Keto Bikini Pro. And check out Coach Bronson on everything.
On everything. And go pre-order my book.
Yes.
It's out on pre-order, Kindle. Please get it. We're trying to get a whole bunch of pre-orders so that when it goes live in September, we can immediately jump to the #1 spot.
Body Confident Book.
A couple different areas. Yep. Right now, it's going between like top 10 and top 25 in healthy diets on Amazon, which is a huge, broad enough. That's like a broad category. It's not super specific. But the fact that we're there already and it hasn't even come out yet is kind of cool.
Awesome.
So take it easy, guys. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
I got to pee so fucking bad.
Hot.